Well, so we're ready to do the discussions on AM Talk. I have as my guest for the morning Anyimedu Entry. He's an honorable member, and Ghana, when we say honorable, it means that he's into politics. He's a member of parliament for Asante Achim Central in Ashanti region, and of course a member of the MPP. I didn't need to add, of course, did I? Well, thanks for joining us this morning. It's a privilege to speak to you.
Good morning.
How did you celebrate your festive season?
Well, it was good.
Yeah, you had to go to the constituency?
I spent it at the constituency.
Okay, so you came for that emergency sitting as well?
Sure. And
all the controversies thereof?
Sure.
What do you make of it?
Well, I was very sad on that day because here we are, the Parliament is asking that we would want to delve into this and find out what has gone into that. There are a lot of rumors surrounding the whole transaction, and we want to find out as representatives of the country what is going on. And then the other side of Parliament says, no, we don't want you to go on. We have an opportunity for a rule to be interpreted, and it's interpreted to suit a particular group of people. So I think I was sad. If you look at the courts are almost always reluctant to oust the jurisdiction of the courts, but not Parliament, especially when we are very inconsistent with the decisions on that particular order 93. It's saddening.
Well, we'll see how that goes. But on the front page of the Ghanaian Times, we have the story about the President John Dramani Mahama. He addressed the quadrennial conference of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, and just in short, the acronym NAT. And the President announced that teacher trainee intake in colleges of education shot up from 9,000 to 15,000 last year alone, and so justified, well, necessarily the policy of withdrawing the allowances given to teachers. And, well, he also said that they will make sure that the welfare of teachers are also taken care of. Now, I have to come to you, Ms. Anyimedu. If you particularly look at that very decision to withdraw the allowances, do you think that it will bode positively for the training of teachers and ultimately for the education sector?
I am a teacher myself.
You've been a
trained,
teacher?
Yes,
okay.
I was trained at Western College. I still teach. And I came out in 1986 when I was a classroom teacher from 1986. At my time, we were not receiving allowances. And
oh, okay.
Yeah, we were not receiving
and between
any.
What time and
I went to training college in 1983 to 1986.
Okay. No allowances at all?
No allowances at all.
But what's the motivation?
Well, we needed to go to college anyway,
okay.
So we needed to be trained as teachers. But we had to go through the hard way. Now, numbers have increased, and especially the rural areas. If you should come to my constituency, I was in charge of Asante Achim North until it was splitted. Now, and Asante Achim North, we have a greater part of the constituency that we had a front plains portion. If you go and look at where teachers are, obviously the motivation is not there. People may not want to enter into the profession. So the allowances, and having gone around, we realized that it was a very welcome idea. It motivated a lot of people to go there. People were not paying fees because they were deducting the fees from the allowances. The other user fees and whatnot and feeding, they needed to depend on the allowances. So I don't think it's a very good idea, but the principle or the policy, I would not speak against the policy if the policy is to increase the intake, because even now we have a lot of people that had applied. There were a lot of applicants that couldn't get admission.
To the teacher training college?
Yes.
And still could not get admission? Okay.
If you look at Agogo Women's Training College, for instance, I presented some people who had qualified by way of protocol to the college. I know my colleague Kwajo Banjaman also presented a list, but none of our candidates were taken, even though they qualified.
You mean none, or just a few?
None, not even one. Because, and we couldn't blame the principal, because the principal said that there were a lot of applicants, and probably the people that she had actually taken qualified more than their
the
grades
better
were
qualified ones.
Yes.
As far as the grades that they had were concerned.
But if we were to look at it, there are structures, classroom blocks that remain uncompleted. Dining hall block uncompleted. Computer.
You mean within the various colleges?
Within the, I'm talking about Agogo Women's Training College alone. So there are a lot of structures that, if the structures had expanded, if they had completed, the colleges could have taken more applicants to actually train them. And the government needs to actually, I wouldn't say they have abandoned the projects, because there are some projects that had remained where they are ever since I entered into
training
politics.
college.
Yeah, the active
into
politics.
active politics.
The same applies to Nurses Training College, for instance, in Anagogo, but we are talking about Teacher Training College. But if the policy is to increase the numbers, I do not have a problem. But for now, what I think is happening is that, you see, with the intake is increasing. If you look at primary school, it is increasing. If you look at secondary school, it's increasing. And we are also having a lot of dropouts. So if the government would have a policy to expand the infrastructure and then other conditions within the training colleges, in order that we could have more applicants into that and train more people, I would not have
doing a content analysis of what the government education people have been talking about, the doling out of allowances perhaps was a restriction to admitting a lot more people. Do you think that the current sense and the rationale for the current policy in itself will be adequately implemented?
Well, if the government says that, I don't agree with them totally, because if you want to increase the numbers, and then when you increase the numbers, and the numbers, for instance, if we're taking about 1,000, and you would want to now take about 10,000 because you are doing away with allowances. What about if they pass out and they are in the system? How are you going to pay them? How are you going to get their salaries paid? You're going to sort all of them out. And the allowances is a small, a minute percentage of the salaries that they will be getting. So it is a defeatist argument to say that I have to slash the allowances in order that I can get more teachers into, or more applicants into the system, because you have to prepare and pay them. But the reality is that we need the teachers. There are a lot of teachers. You see, when the youth program started, there were some school, what do you call it, the senior secondary school certificate holders that were absorbed into the system to actually teach at the primary schools and whatnot. Those people, I don't see them anymore. They've been slashed out. They are not taking. So there are a lot of classrooms that are vacant. So we need the teachers to actually go and teach in the classrooms.
And so on Wednesday, the president was at this very quadrennial delegates conference of the National Association of Teachers. We're talking about NAT. And we have that very piece, or that very insert, so we would want to play that to you. And then when we come back, we'll do a lot more discussion on the subject. But we'll also be looking at the TUC. The TUC has invariably been saying that even though they had initially been part of that very decision that was taken by the board of SNITs to, if not append or approve that very deal for Tees to be in a position to take over Merchant Bank, they now feel that they have new disclosures that will enable them to contest the current agreement before court. In the meantime, we're taking a short break. When we come back, we'll have a lot more discussions. Well, so we're ready with that insert. The president was at the quadrennial Congress of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, and it was on the theme Education and Crisis, the Development Agenda Beyond 2015, but particularly on the subject of why there was the need for those allowances for trainee teachers to be withdrawn and how ultimately it would affect the expansion of training of teachers in Ghana. We want to bring you that insert as well, so do take a watch.
Education has been on the priority list of successive government, yet teaching and learning continue to be carried out under the most deplorable circumstances. According to Education International, about 57 million children of school-going age are not in school in sub-Saharan Africa. Delegates at this year's quadrennial conference of NAT are to deliberate on the way forward for education in Ghana from the perspective of teacher welfare. Acting President of NAT, Samuel Alubui, was emphatic government must invest more to attract and retain qualified teachers as well as focus on rural education.
We find that the repercussion of the withdrawal of the allowance a drawback to the progress so far made. Asking trainee teachers to go for loans to finance their education in the College of Education will mean that they cannot be bonded by the GES after their graduation. The likely scenario is that these teachers will look for their own schools to teach. It is very obvious that they will pick and choose where they want to teach, and no one can compel them to go to the underserved areas where the services may be needed most.
All speakers, including representatives of the Retired Teachers Association, NAGRAT, CLOGSAG, and the TUC, championed the welfare of teachers as a crucial step to addressing the challenges of education in Ghana. The Education Minister, Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman, was however disappointed none of the speakers spoke about teacher absenteeism.
This year, my ministry has declared zero tolerance for absenteeism. We will be happy to have NAT partner with us in making this a reality. I'm disappointed that I did not hear any of the speakers make any reference to this, but they all know what I'm talking about. I will continue what I started last year of visiting the schools unannounced. Last year, my team and I were able to do so in all the 10 regions of this country. This is not a platform to share what we found.
President John Mahama, on his part, attempted to explain the withdrawal of teacher trainee allowances.
And so, while there was space to absorb more teachers, we could not absorb them because government could not raise the money to pay teacher training allowances. And so it was only practical that we take the steps to make sure that all the colleges of education could enroll students to their full capacity. And that informed the decision of the Ministry of Education to transfer the students from the teacher training allowances to the Students' Loan Trust Scheme. What decision was taken was that new students coming into these teacher training colleges, these colleges of education, would rather take loans from the Student Loan Trust.
He said research by government has revealed about 23,000 schools under trees still exist.
So far, we have built close to 2,000 primary schools across the country. We estimate at the beginning of the exercise that there were approximately 4,300 schools under trees across the country. And so we still have about 2,300 schools under trees to eliminate. And it is government's intention that we will invest more money towards eliminating these substandard schools.
The conference, which attracted teacher unions from across the world, ends on Friday, 10th January 2014. It will also elect new national executive of the association. For Joy News, Gifty Andoapia, Accra.
Well, so all that the president said, but we have to come back to the discussions. Now, if we have all these withdrawal of allowances, and the intention is that we're likely to see expansion in the facilities and increment in enrollment in the training schools, how likely are we to get there? And what target should we have as a country for ourselves?
Well, I think if we want a policy, we want to implement a policy, you start with the implementation and at some point you have to evaluate the system to see whether the the system is working. I think practically we are not going to get the effect that the president is saying, that is to increase the enrollment. Because if you look at, for instance, the admission fees alone, I know that in my constituency there were a lot of candidates that were admitted into training colleges, but they couldn't actually get the initial fees to pay and enter
the
colleges.
They pay fees now?
They pay fees.
To attend training colleges?
To attend training college. To start with, some schools were collecting as much as about 1,500 to 2,000 Ghana cedis to start the first term. And this, most parents could not afford. So the end result is that the enrollment that we expect to go high is only for the rich, and most people are not going to be able to afford anyway. So invariably, the enrollment, we are not going to get the expected.
Okay.
We are not going to get the.
So you are saying that if you just suppose the rationale for withdrawing the allowances,
right,
and then the same time fees being charged, which for many income level people is very high, then we're not likely to meet the numbers.
We are not exactly, because when they were paid allowances, sometimes if they owe the fees, the principals will wait until the allowances come, and then they will deduct from the allowances. So it kept most people in school. But now that the allowances are going to are going to be withdrawn, I don't know if they've taken it away. If they withdraw the allowances,
have been withdrawn. With the exception of those in the final year, they take the allowance.
Yes. So now that the first year, those that had started the first year are not enjoying allowances. And I know that those that started a first last term, most people couldn't enter because they couldn't get the fees to pay. So it is a defeatist argument, and we must set our priorities right. If we want to increase the enrollment, we must look at infrastructure, we must look at affordability, whether the candidates are able to afford the fees in order to enter the training colleges. And I think we have to assess at the end of the first year, second year, to assess whether the withdrawal will have gotten the positive
Now
effect.
let's move the discussion into this very tangent. You say that you have been to a training college before, and actually you meet a lot more of the older folks who are topmost politician, business people, and they say they went through the training college system.
Right.
You're telling me that your time, there was no allowances,
right,
or there were no allowances because it was withdrawn at the time. But it wasn't there.
It wasn't there at all.
Yes,
it was implemented. The allowances were implemented later after I left training college.
Now, is there a rationale? Is somebody willing to go to a training college to become a professional teacher? I'm asking you.
Whether somebody is willing.
Yeah.
Well, at the time, I was willing to go.
Yeah. So it means that we have a lot more people.
We have a lot of people that are willing to go. But I'm sure that if I had not been fortunate to start training college in 1983, and I was able to start, I was given the opportunity to start this year or next year,
you wouldn't have been.
I wouldn't have.
Because
I wouldn't have the money to.
Perhaps you don't know. Maybe the fortunes of your parents would have improved enough. You never know. Because the economy has moved on.
But I am sitting looking at my background and where I'm coming from, and the kind of fees that are being charged now. Because at that time, there were no allowances, but the fees were almost negligible. It wasn't that much. So we could afford. But now it is very high.
How important is it that the fees that are charged are lowered? Is it for motivational purposes so that even those who are motivated to become teachers will be willing?
I'm talking about affordability. I don't believe in the principle that if you want to school, or every parent should make it free. But if, for instance, we could actually look at the SNIT loan, for instance, for the students, that they could access some kind of loan. They actually have
access.
Yeah, if they could access some kind of loan which would be enough to cover their fees and other.
Are they currently not connected? I think they are. I think they can access.
I am not sure, because there was a transition from, you see, the training colleges, because they are running diploma programs, there was a transition period into the tertiary institution, and the SNIT loan was for tertiary students. So I'm not very certain if they enjoy it. But if they enjoy that and they give them enough to cover these expenses so that when they are working, then they will pay, that is okay. But I am just looking at affordability. And I am also not very happy with the government's position that if we want to expand intake, so we are withdrawing allowances. I again ask, how is the government going to pay them when they all come out? Probably that explains why some people come out, they teach for 18 months, 20 months, and they've never been paid. My time, I taught for 7 good months before I received my first salary, even though I received arrears of the salary. But it still goes on, and I don't know when it's going to end. Somebody comes out of a training college, he teaches 1 year, 2 years, and he had not received salary. Probably, we must plan for them. Because if you say that we are withdrawing allowances because we want more students to go through the training college, means that you don't have the money when they come out as teachers to pay them.
It doesn't always translate into that.
Well,
the point is that as a country we need a lot more teachers, because if you look at the ratios, it doesn't even match the normal MDG ratios.
Especially if you are looking at the villages, we need more teachers.
So we need more teachers. So there shouldn't be any talk about whether the state will be in a position to pay or not.
Well,
if we have a lot more teachers, because that's your argument.
The argument, I'm picking it from what the government is saying. That this is a policy we are coming out with. The policy is that we don't have more money. We want to expand the infrastructure. So we don't have the money to pay allowances. The infrastructure is not being expanded. With the enrollment, we want to increase enrollment. But I'm saying that the enrollment, the government should go down, and they will realize that people are not able to enroll because they cannot pay the initial fees. So we are back to square one. We are not going to get the expected results.
But we don't know that yet. All these are just assumptions.
Well, I am at the constituency. I live with the people, and I know the number of people that were given, they gained admissions into various institutions and couldn't afford to pay the initial deposit. And they are still
following the implementation of the single spine pay policy, we're being told that now the teachers are better off than they were before. Well, maybe perhaps in your estimation not substantial enough. But do we think that going on this very tangent, then that will serve also as motivation enough for those who are even interested in teaching, even if it is for a time, to always go into training colleges and willing to pay?
In my philosophy class, I was told that to get a sound argument, the premise must be true. And the premise upon which you are building your argument, that teachers during the single spine policy were better off, is a fallacy. And if it was so, teachers wouldn't have embarked on demonstrations and whatnots to actually
all workers now
demands all workers. So that is never true.
No. We're talking about having a fundamental benchmark on which we can measure what the wages or the income levels are, perhaps at the end of the year or at the end of the month, formally and currently within a certain regime or regulation. Now, that's just on the premise for which I'm arguing. So that's why I'm asking you, if you make a comparison, I mean sincerely, of what teachers were earning and currently, it's better off.
Well,
even though, of course, they'll need more. Oliver Twist always needs more.
No, it's not a matter of needing more. But if you look at the figures, probably they were receiving 2,000 cedis, or no teacher received 2,000 cedis though.
Well, unless you're a pastor or director or something.
1,200 cedis. If the person was receiving 1,000.
I say no teacher. At university lecturers will get a lot.
Well, I guess so. I had taught at the university, at KNUST, and when I was a lecturer at KNUST, I wasn't getting more than 2,000.
But you're getting other allowances, so that compounded.
Well, everything was together.
Yeah, compounded. Yeah.
Everything was together. You were loaded. Right. Everything was together. If you put everything together, I wasn't getting...
Your basic was not...
No, but the point I want to make is that if I receive a figure that is higher, and then when it comes to expenditure, I am worse off, then I should have probably received what I was receiving, so that we if other economic conditions in the country could be
What do you mean?
I mean that fuel had gone up. If the teacher is taking a taxi, now he's paying double the price, and his salary had not been increased double. So what are we saying? So if the teacher was paying for a kids' school, worse off. Because if the teacher was paying for the kids' school fees, he's now paying probably double or triple what the teacher was paying. So I see that as a fallacy. So if you increase my salary and you in the country as such that I have to spend more, then where am I?
So now at the end of the day, do we think that perhaps we need to take a holistic look at the whole initiative?
Exactly. And like I said, if it's a policy, I mean, we start with a policy, and at some point you get back, you evaluate the policy to see if it is working. But there are indicators that, at least from where I am coming from and what I have realized, there are indicators that I am not sounding as a prophet of doom, but there are indicators that this might not be successful, and therefore I would want the government to actually take a holistic view of the whole policy before implementing
I like you because you feel that, well, the withdrawal is not bad, but then the underlying currents, undercurrents should also be looked at. Okay, because
the withdrawal is not bad so far as it would actually help to get the desired result. That is increasing enrollment. I would not speak against that.
You have always been in academia, so and you are still, at least when you leave Parliament, you can always go back and teach. So that's the whole point. We've been joined by Baba Jamal. Baba Jamal is a member of Parliament for Akwitia, but also he is a Deputy Minister for Local Government and Rural Development. Thanks for joining us. And we've been discussing the withdrawal of teacher trainee allowances and invariably the rationale behind it. And once they are paying fees before making entry, after they have been admitted, then the argument is that it is moot because the fees are that high.
You see, I think that we have to look at the general trend of the economy of our country. The trend is moving towards zero subsidy on services that are provided. We are now a middle income country. We don't have access to some concessionary loans now. We have to go onto the commercial loan market and borrow at all those rates. And you know that those lenders and borrowers will not allow you to go and borrow money to go and be giving it free to people. So the general trend now should be understood to be going towards zero subsidy. Subsidies will only be justified on very, very critical and essential services. When you look at maybe the Greek sector and other places where we think that that is very critical. Now coming down to the students, the training colleges. Look, from three aspects, it is wrong to still maintain that allowance is there.
But that's agreed.
The first one is that now those institutions, the reasons that were adduced for giving them those allowances, as I talk to you now, do not exist again. Two, they are all now have been agreed to training, colleges, to be a diploma, tertiary level. Now, what is the fairness here as a Ghanaian? That me and you, we finish the same SS. You go to Polytechnic to do a diploma. I go to a training college to do a diploma.
Or I go to the university.
Or I go to the
but I don't come back and teach and go and teach in deplorable conditions. That's the difference.
No. Well, wait. I'm coming there. Because it is no... What about those who will go and work in district assemblies?
How many of them? Because if we take a look at the current educational system we have, we still have a lot more deficit for which we need a lot more teachers to fill.
District assemblies are in every village. Schools, hospitals, clinics, they're all in all villages, very typical villages. There are people who work under the same conditions as the teachers. So what we are saying is to make it fair, the government is not withdrawing the subsidy and saying that the allowances and saying that is the end of it. He's bringing you onto the same level,
so
where you can have access to money, borrow as a student. All of us did that. When you finish, gradually.
You mean from SNIT?
From SNIT, that's what it's doing. That's the alternative offer then. It's not like they say withdraw and that's all.
Oh, okay.
They are also coming onto the SNIT
loan scheme,
like
the student loan scheme.
The student loan scheme.
Because now we have a trust now, so
exactly.
I think we have to distinguish it from SNIT, even though SNIT is
whatever.
the shareholding.
There is an access to money that you can still use to fund your education.
Oh, we do understand.
Like all of us.
We do understand that.
So what
but we're talking about motivation, encouraging people that after senior high school, after that level of education, I will be motivated enough to apply to a training college of my choice, and then when I'm paying, just like any other who enters a university or a polytechnic, I'll be motivated enough to do that.
I can assure you that people now want to choose teaching as a profession. It's not as if people take it as last options as it used to be. Now when you look at the numbers that go to apply for these training colleges, in fact, they always take just about a third of what the people who applied.
No,
so I can assure you that people want to now select teaching as a profession. So the issue, if we all agree that withdrawing the subsidy is a fair thing. In fact, this year, after withdrawing it, according to the statistics, they have virtually doubled the number in terms of entry. So it's going to help all of us get more people into it. And so I think that what is happening now, we should all take the politics out of it, look at it nationalistically, and say that is it good for us? If it's good for us, how do we make it work?
I think that then I have to correct you on the part of the politics, because I believe that your colleague here, he's a member of the MPP, but
I'm
also not making reference to
what I'm saying is that I have heard a lot of arguments.
Okay.
And
you feel that they are tilting politically.
Okay,
well, I would want to go beyond the point that because probably this policy was introduced by the Kufuor administration, and that is why probably the NDC is kicking against it. I would want to go beyond that and look at the realities. But I would want to ask my colleague a question. I was trained as a lawyer. I went to the university with a colleague of mine who went to the medical school. I paid for all throughout my 5-year education to be trained as a lawyer. When the medical student gets to the 2nd year or 3rd year, he is shifted to Kolebu and he is accommodated, given allowances. When he comes out,
so you're saying that there should be equity? Okay, we do understand that. We'll admit you, Baba Jama will admit you, but we have on the line the national coordinator for the Teacher Trainee Association, Seydou Ahmed. You're on the phone. A very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Okay. My name is Roland. Do I get the feeling that you're a teacher trainee?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm the national coordinator for the Association of Teacher Trainees.
Okay, you are the national coordinator. We get that very perspective. From your perspective and the arguments that you have raised the last couple of weeks, if not months, since the very announcement was made, you think that the government's policy is disingenuous?
Thank you very much, and a very good morning to all your viewers. I'm very happy that this issue is being discussed in the presence of Baba Jamal. But as I'm speaking, throughout the country, all teacher trainees are foreseeing the negative consequences of this policy. And we don't want to level it to the hands of government. All stakeholders are involved in this. Right now, we all understand that if they have scrapped off this allowance, there is a conviction that the other will be created for a huge number of people to be admitted into the college. Now, let's talk of the affordability of that. And we are foreseeing that even the reason for which the allowances were being instituted, as of now, has not been successful seen. We still have a lot of teacher deficits. And for this current years, about 2 or 3 years, you see that students will be able to come to the college for admission. But bear in mind, apart from that, or far from after 3 years, you see that there wouldn't be the same trend will come.
Okay. Seydou Ahmed, Mr. Ahmed.
Yes,
just relax on your thoughts and also just listen to me as and when we do the discussion. And don't be a doomsday conspirator, because you never know or can predict after 3 years. The point is, the rationale, as it has been announced by the educational authority, so to speak, is because perhaps once they are not putting in money into giving you allowances, then they can put that money into expanding infrastructure. And thereby, the backlog of people who get admitted, like you have said, who don't also get admitted as a backlog, also get admitted later on because they can be accommodated, because also the facilities have been expanded. Does it make a lot more sense and logic?
Well, as we're saying now, I am not in the position to see it makes a sense or it does not make a sense. But the fact is that even if you increase the infrastructure in the country, you'll be surprised that there wouldn't be people that will...
Who told you? Who told you? How do you come to that conclusion? Because as we're talking currently, the current admission estimate we have 9,000 that have been admitted, in excess over 15,000 that has also been increased over the last year. And we still have a lot more people who haven't been admitted at all, can't get access, just because the facilities are not there, and because government also cannot pay a lot more of the allowances that you are receiving currently to the backlog.
Mr. Ronald, the fact is that as I indicated at the beginning of my speech, I said for the immediate years, you will see people coming in. But the records I am having as the national coordinator of teacher trainees is that students will withdraw from even the college because as time goes on or as the years pass by, they can't afford the cost of that.
Okay.
It means that we are going back to that same trend, and
okay.
which will jeopardize the educational system.
Okay, Ahmed, let me ask you, did you want to become a teacher? That was the motivation for you to enter into a training college?
Yes, actually, that is the motivation. I just want to become a teacher. That's why I went to the college.
Okay,
There's nothing more than that.
Okay, Ahmed, so if you were motivated because you wanted to become a teacher, you don't think a lot more people also will be motivated to choose teaching as their profession?
I'm not clear with your question, please.
Okay, from the argument you have made, I deduce that you say a lot more people go to training colleges because of the allowances, right?
No.
Okay. So hold on there. So hold on there. So if people are not going into training colleges because of the allowances, it presupposes that people are going or entering or applying to become teachers because they want to become teachers. So whether allowances are there or not, they want to become teachers.
And the reason we are having is that if people go into the teacher training college because they want to become teachers, and because for that reason, there is still teacher deficit in the country, and the teacher training allowance was instituted to motivate them to come. As of now, there is no any indication to show that we have successfully achieved the reason for which it has been instituted. It means if it is taken off, we are demotivating them to go to the colleges again, and that will be the negative repercussions.
Mm-hmm. And I asked you, Ahmed, are people motivated to apply to the teacher training colleges because of the allowances or because they have a passion to teach?
If somebody goes to the teacher training college, the fact is that the person has the zeal to go as a teacher. If you don't have the zeal to go as a teacher, you cannot go. You would prefer going to the all other institutions, but you go to the teacher training college. But the thing we always say is that if it is that we have to scrap the teacher training allowance, have we achieved the reason for which the allowance was instituted? If it is there, what is the current teacher deficit, and what is the current number of people teachers in the system? Before we talk of scrapping the allowance, it means for the immediate years, we'll get people applying. But as the years go by, people will first going to the universities for a degree rather than the diploma. And bear in mind that those who go to the universities go there for a degree. And you think that I'll go there with a student loan, I'll go for a diploma, and somebody with a first student loan, the person will go for a degree. Which of them will be a choice?
Well, I get your point.
The conqueror will be the sufferer.
I get your point. Do you think that if the teacher training colleges are upgraded into the level of perhaps giving out degrees, then we have a lot more of people also being retained there?
Yes, I think so. If the teacher trainees at the end of the day, at the end of their course, they'll be awarded a degree.
Then it doesn't matter whether they will pay or not, whether allowances or not, right? They'll go.
Whether, as I'm speaking now, I'm not determined as to if the colleges to be awarded degree, the allowance should be instituted. But if the decision makers or stakeholders have seen that if they scrap the allowance and the students are admitted, they will be awarded degree. It's not my decision, but the fact is, have we achieved the region for which it has been instituted?
Okay.
Have we achieved that?
Okay.
Okay. And there are clear-cut indicators that reason for which has been indicated has not been successfully achieved.
Okay. Ahmed, do I get the feeling that you're panicking because the allowances will not come again? So.
Pardon me?
Well, that'll be it for the morning, Seydou Ahmed. And Seydou Ahmed is the national coordinator for the Teacher Training Association. Well, they were receiving allowance, now they don't receive. It's not easy for you to be...
Those who are already in, who were admitted based on the allowance, who will continue to receive.
No, but that's only a year for that whole year. And then they go for 3 years.
They will receive.
Okay.
So those who are already...
But new entrants,
new entrants is where the thing is crowded.
Okay.
So what conditions... What are the conditions that draws the dichotomy between a first year, second year student and a third year student?
No, what happened is that I was admitted based on some condition, and that condition must be allowed to flow.
Yes.
If you are also entering, then they tell you this is the new condition that has been established. You want you to take it. Right. So when you take it, you go through that condition. Yeah. And the condition now is that you don't receive allowance. So
I get your point. I get your point. But the gentleman raised a very interesting issue. An issue I feel that Mr. Nyimedu also raised. The point is, when people are making the entry, I hear that currently, within the estimates, they pay between 1,500 and 2,000 as fees.
I don't know the exact figures.
You can't authenticate that.
But is it different from other institutions?
Well, it's not different. But he's saying that the motivation is you go and get a degree in other tertiary institutions and not a diploma. And besides, you also, after being posted, go and teach in a very deplorable situation.
Exactly.
So at the end of the day, if you look at it and you want to do all the encounters, you get to know that, well, it's not worth it. I better sacrifice and wait and go to a university, etc.
I think we need to explain it for the public to understand.
Please do. That's why you're here.
Please, you see, in the first place, I was wondering why he said that he's happy they are discussing this issue when I am present. I don't know where it's because I have been a student leader before. I don't know. But the fact is that today, all Ghanaians are supposed to work everywhere, any part of this country. That's why, for example, in national service, you are posted everywhere. Anywhere you go and work. Do you understand? Now, when you are a teacher, you come into the system. A teacher, like a nurse, like a health worker, whoever, is supposed to work everywhere, depending on the job that you have chosen. So if I decide to go to the university, in the first place...
Well, I will advise you to choose your words carefully because the point is... because those who teach in the rural areas... those who teach in the rural areas...
careful when I select my words.
But because
I'm a politician.
Yeah, because those who teach...
the implication of words.
Yes, because those who teach in the rural areas, it's not because they had wanted to... The choice is... You have been posted to a rural community and you have no choice than to go.
No, what I'm saying is that...
So why do you say that they chose to decide...
What you need to understand is that... Are we saying that it is only people from big cities who go to training college? There are people from those same poor areas who come to training colleges and want to go and help their community.
And must they continue to live in the rural areas?
No. But what are you talking about? Are you saying that those who are living in the rural areas are less human beings?
They must be motivated.
No,
they are not. That's why they must be motivated.
Motivation will come on the job. But not when you are saying that we want a basis to train everybody. Like we were talking about the doctors. Yeah. I know gradually it will get to that point. Because you see, let me tell you, you look at the demand and supply, the type of technocrats you need, you understand? As we talk now, we have a lot, even though we have a lot of empty classrooms, but I can say confidently that there is enough motivation for teachers to want to choose teaching as profession.
Why?
People, because now it is a ready job. A lot of people are running around, graduates who have no jobs.
There are no jobs.
There are no jobs.
Two.
Do you understand? One. Two, I think their salary levels are not that bad.
Really?
I'm telling you.
Well, I just asked Mr. Imedu. I mentioned single span. He said no.
Tell Mr. Imedu to go and check the records of the salary.
He's in his constituency.
I'm not saying that it is the best, but I can say with all confidence that it's better today.
I know that as well. That's why I
said not bad. Now you are saying better.
Oh, I'm saying that it is better than it used to be.
He said better off.
I'm saying they are better off.
But they are using the money, their salaries within the economic conditions in the country.
No, I agree with you. What I'm saying is that, so, when you were talking to him, I wanted you to ask him his opinion. We are not scrapping the allowance and leaving them ajar. We are saying that we are moving you onto the student's loan, so you still have access to money to support you. In any case,
so when you start work, you pay. And this one you have ready job, so you pay.
Of course, when you enter when you're entering the school,
that's a tricky one there. Now the next question I want to pose to you is that he's talking about the likelihood of having some level of apathy for people to get the interest to get to training colleges, and he said 3 years. And he's giving you 3 years, 2016, perhaps maybe you would have been in or out of power, so you never know, but the country will be there. The point is, if we're going to have this very system be implemented, and he is predicting that by 3 years we're not going to have a lot more people interested because there are no allowances, that also affects the ratio and then the backlog that you need to fill.
Don't worry, 3 years will still be around. So we are not going now because the voters have a lot of confidence in us. So don't worry, we'll be around. But I can assure you, like I said earlier, that with the current situation, there are a lot of people who want to go into teaching as a profession. And let me tell you, I would prefer people going into teaching because they want to choose teaching than people going into teaching because they have allowances to collect. So if people go into teaching because they want to teach, if people go into teaching because they love teaching and they want to help, it's better than people going into this because they are motivated to do so. So I can assure you that there are enough people in the system who want to choose profession, this as a profession, and that will not affect intake at all. In fact, it's going to increase intake because we are going to provide more facilities. As I talk to you now, in my constituency, there's a town called Kusi. They've allocated a big 1 mile square land that they are prepared for the government to come and build a training college for them. Because the demand in the constituency for training colleges and what are so high. So please, I think that the policy is good.
Okay.
We are moving them from the allowance to
so why wouldn't you start with a SNIT loan? Why wouldn't you start a SNIT loan first and then withdraw the allowance?
No, but it is right there. It is there.
It's not there.
It's there.
No students within the training college have benefited from a SNIT loan.
They are supposed to benefit. Those who are entering, they are supposed to.
They are supposed to.
Yes.
Okay.
You enter before you apply anyway.
Now, by saying that and looking at the backlog of students that don't get the admissions, it means that their interest is there. We shouldn't take that away.
Yes, but I also raise another thing, that there are a lot of students that gained admission but couldn't pay the initial fees. They are also there. So affordability is also another thing.
Is that peculiar to training colleges?
No, but you've made it too expensive.
No,
it's been made too expensive, Mr. Baba Jamal.
I agree with you that the education
it is not peculiar to
it's not peculiar to training college.
Yes, but we want to address the problem
of shortage.
No. Because we have.
And if you go by this way, you can't address the shortage, Mr. Baba Jamal. You can't address it.
No, when the allowance was there, are you paid the allowance before you start school, or you enter before you?
But you know that you collect it. There's always carry forward. Carry forward. No, there's a carry forward.
The loan is
the
same.
Carry forward, sir.
Listen, the loan is the same. When you're going to training colleges, you apply, pay your initial fees and everything.
But the allowances you don't pay.
Please, you enter.
You're only bonded.
I'm coming. You enter into it before you start getting the allowances. The loan is the same, and the loan you are not supposed to finish and pay in bulk. It is only when you get job. Listen carefully. It is only when you get job, then you will be deducted small by small. All of us took it. I'm sure if when the treasury you took it. And you are
paid yours?
I've finished paying mine. I've finished paying mine. You understand? And you paid without knowing you have paid, because they will be taking it small from your money. You even know you are paying. So what I'm saying is
actually, they don't take it small for your money. You can go and use your contribution to offset. But
if you want to go and offset, that is your choice. But otherwise, if you have a job, the law is that they take it small. Sometimes they take it less than maybe 2% of your entire salary.
Yeah, of course.
So you don't even feel it.
Okay, now what I want us to look at as we conclude the discussions is whether perhaps as they were taking the policy, they needed also to get the views of the beneficiaries and the communities from which these people will be coming from entering the training colleges, to get to know, have a fair idea.
I don't think they have done that.
No, that has not been done.
But how my colleague started it, my colleague said that the conditions that existed for the introduction of the policy exist no more. But I don't believe that is the case. The idea, I've said the principle is not bad. We cannot continue to say that everything must be free.
Okay.
There are people that can afford. There are others that can't afford. I said that if they had actually introduced the loans for them, and the loans are enough to actually cater for them, it is a different ball game. Because if you go to the rural areas, there are the challenges are real. You have students who have passed out from senior high school. They have the capability to enter into training colleges, and they just don't have the means. And here we have classrooms that are empty. We have not solved that problem. And these are some of the conditions that existed before the introduction of this policy. We haven't solved that problem. If we want to solve that problem, and that is another way. If we have solved that problem and we have not transiting to another level, that is a different thing.
Is that peculiar to training colleges alone?
Why are you trying to? Why are you trying to equate the backlog we have, or as far as we're concerned, the deficit we have in teacher trainings or teachers in schools to every profession? Because it doesn't happen. We have a lot more bankers that we can take. We have a lot more.
No, we have deficit in many aspects of our life. For example, in my ministry, local government, we have created new districts. We have deficit in terms of staff. One of our challenges is that how to get people who will be prepared to say that I'll go to the villages. And now we take you on that condition. If we're going to employ you, we say that you are taking you to the village. Do you agree? Yes. Then you go. Look, and I also want to bring this point up. Now the training colleges are not just Certificate A awarding training colleges. They have been moved to diploma level, and now they are going to be degree awarded. So with your degree,
you are motivated
to go anywhere you want.
Because you know that if you want to move the next step in life, you can always. If you want to remain, you can always go and upgrade and come. We get your point.
I'll ask one question. The magistrate course that the judicial service introduces, they admit graduates, so it's a postgraduate course.
Yeah.
When they are in the schools, they receive allowances right from day one until they complete, and then they are on salaries. This is a postgraduate course, and they are on allowance. And you are saying that because they are going to receive a degree,
but doctors also receive
a degree course. It is to solve a specific problem, because most judges, most lawyers wouldn't want to go to the rural areas. So this course was established. Similarly, the education service introduced this idea. The government then introduced this idea because we had a lot of deficit in the classroom.
Look,
I would want to find out, have you actually conducted a research to find out if we had arrested
the government has done that. We have seen that it is time to do that in the education sector, because comparing the education sector to maybe the courts, will be comparing oranges to apples. So it is time. From time to time, you see, I told you that it is gradually moving towards zero. And it will come to them. It will come to the doctors, it will come to the courts, it will come to everybody.
At some point in our lives.
In our life. It is continuing to go.
But the way we're going, for the doctors, I don't think in the point of our life.
It will come. Because now, there are now even private medical schools coming up.
Well, we know that.
Private medical schools coming up. So it will come to a point that it will come.
That is true. Private medical school doesn't prevent the government from giving them the allowances if they need. There is a need to
but
give
no,
them.
they don't take the private medical school won't take, because people go to Ukraine and things to go and train in China and pay huge money.
Very soon,
for instance, capitation, I was thinking that we could extend it to private schools and the primary schools.
No.
Why?
I don't agree.
The student
I don't agree.
But that's my opinion. That's my opinion. Is that student not
it depends. You gradually
well, I wanted seriously for us to look at the organized labor. TUC saying they wanted to go to court. And okay, I have 8 minutes. Okay, so 8 minutes. Let's look at. I'm really. This one, organized labor for court over Merchant Bank Fortis deal. Right. And I know you gentlemen were recalled hurriedly to Parliament because of the subject. Now, if organized labor no, they didn't waste your time.
They wasted our time.
No. Now
they know that.
Now, if we have organized labor, now saying they are going to court because they have new disclosures, so to speak, and then they were part of the initial. Approval because they have representatives. Actually, 4 representatives on the board of SNET. That smacks of.
You can't deny them their right, my brother. You can't deny them their right to go to court if they want to. I have no problem. The fault is I am of the opinion that it must be investigated. It must be all the facts about it should come out clear.
Really?
So that everybody, yes.
Somebody will say, like, seriously.
That's a new phrase now, like seriously. Like seriously?
Seriously, I want this thing to be investigated, to be done properly. But not the way.
You had an opportunity.
No, well, hold on.
On Monday you had the opportunity.
I am coming, please.
And you threw it away.
Not the way you want to do it. Circumventing the law. To do it. It is
what is circumventing the law?
For example, we call us to Parliament to discuss an issue that is before the law courts. And we are telling you that let the courts handle it. When the courts handle it and you are not satisfied, you can come back to Parliament. You don't bring us to Parliament and say that what is before the court. And in the ruling of the Speaker, he made it clear that he doesn't see how we can discuss this issue in Parliament without reference to the essentials of the case that is before the court. So if you want to go to court and you say that the issue is before the court, let the court do their work. Nobody is prepared. No NDC man is saying that don't investigate. But what the NDC people is saying that you claim that you believe in the court. Let the court do its work. Now, until the court finishes its work, why do you want to circumvent the law?
It is not the case that if there is a matter before a court, Parliament cannot delve into the matter.
We're discussing I have discussed this for 3 days. That's okay.
We have not said so. We have not said so.
Order 93.
That is exactly what you're saying. That is
that is order 93. But the order says that if the thing will affect what is in court, then we may. He used the word may.
Gentlemen, the reason why I introduced it.
So that is not the issue. But the question you raised, I think that even if they had gone to court and they have, after the court, they have found out that they have gotten new evidence that would have, in the opinion of the judge, if those evidence had been brought to the attention of the judge, he would have ruled otherwise. They have the right to go to court again.
I agree with you.
And therefore, if these things that they are talking about, there are facts that are in their domain now, which were not there earlier on, they can actually go to court, and then they have the right to do that. But I'm surprised at my colleague to say that he would want the matter to be investigated when you were given the opportunity and you
we wouldn't use wrong means.
I doubt if genuinely he wants
the TUC say now they want to take the matter to court, but actually they've been part of the approval processes all along.
Yeah, but if new facts...
Yes, that's what I'm saying, that if there are new facts, at that time there are facts that were not in their knowledge. And now they have gotten some facts, so nothing prevents them to go to court. But you see, everything about the deal is fishy. Everything about the thing smells bad.
That's what you think.
It appears very bad. Let us go into that. That is all.
But do you know that
Parliament is the representative of the people. Let us get the opportunity to investigate and get to it too. Nobody is saying that the deal, actually, there is this wrong with that or that. We want to go into it whether the right thing had been done.
What is the court doing?
And let's have an opportunity to do that.
No, what is the court doing?
And we'll have the opportunity, and then we oust our
What is the court doing now? What is the court doing? Okay. What is before the court?
Okay, sir. So
what is before the court?
Well, if you ask me, I would say that there's nothing before the court.
So
because it went to court, the High Court, and the High Court had actually dismissed the claim.
Yes. And
appeal had been filed. Until the appeal is heard and the person is successful in the appeal.
My brother, you are a lawyer.
Yes. Until the person, then the case is resurrected. But for now, what is the court investigating?
So if I file an appeal,
it's unfortunate.
If I file an appeal, are you saying that when I file an appeal, the appeal is of no effect until the...
I'm not saying it is of no effect,
so
but you are saying that we are talking about an investigation into the matter.
The case is before the court.
And I'm speaking as a
has
lawyer.
Been filed. Yes. Once an appeal has been filed,
Baba Jama, he's speaking as a lawyer. Baba Jama, you a lawyer?
I am not.
He's speaking like a lawyer, and I'm speaking as a lawyer.
But so I'm surprised at him speaking like this because he knows when the case is appealed.
I am speaking as a lawyer.
And I'm saying that you are wrong.
You are speaking like a...
You are wrong in this step.
Okay.
You think I am wrong, but I am not. I am not wrong.
You are wrong. I'm also a student of law.
Okay, I do understand. Okay, sir. Now, do we get the sense that no matter what we think, the case is still in court because it's on appeal? Now, while the party that took the matter to court, while his locus is being questioned, the point is, at the end of the day, he wants access to look into the substantive. So no matter what we do, the case is still in court. Do you agree?
Give me a minute to actually go to Order 93. Order 93.
Now, we've been through that a couple of times.
Right. What Order 93.1 is saying is that reference shall not be made to any matter on which judicial decision is pending in such a way as may, in the opinion of Mr. Speaker, prejudice the interests of the party.
So that was his opinion on Monday, right?
Yes, that was his opinion. Right. If he has the right to go right, he's had the right to go wrong.
My time is up.
But
my time is up, unfortunately.
Okay. Right.
I know this one, we've been discussing all these matters across the media space. Proud to that very decision by the Speaker on Monday. But we know that we can still discuss it in the next couple of weeks and no end insight will come to it. Well, that'll be it for the morning. We have had in the studio Anyimedu Entry, Member of Parliament for Asante Achim Central. And thanks for coming to the studio as well. It's been a privilege discussing these subjects with you. Baba Jamal is a Member of Parliament for Akwitia and also Deputy Minister for Local Government and Rural Development. Thanks also. Student of law, lawyer. So whatever it is, we hear you people. And that'll be it for the morning. Next, we bring you a lot more on the AM show, which is live on the Joy News channel of Multi TV.